chance to be back swimming again has made me realize that there was a follow-up video that I had wanted to do that I had not done yet, and I think it's kind of important that I share it with you.
Tiny House Prepper.
Hi, this is Elizabeth, and welcome to Tiny House Prepper. I'm here today because I really wanted to do a little bit of a follow-up on some things that I really learned in that whole situation where the man was drowning in the pool where I go swimming. That video is going to be linked in the description below. It'll be very easy to find if you haven't ever seen it. I will very briefly kind of recap what happened, and then I really want to talk about some of the aftermath of that situation that I ran into. I was at the pool, it's been some months back now, and I was there just doing my laps, and this very nice gentleman was there, probably in his 40s, about my height, who I discovered as I was swimming he could not swim, and they don't have lifeguards there, and I was literally the only one in the pool except for one really, really elderly lady that was really quietly doing some little laps, and I don't think she even saw what was happening. So anyway, the place is not set up with a lifeguard, and I suddenly realized this man had accidentally slipped into the deep water. There have been some people who have been saying, you know, what in the world was he even doing in the deep water if he knew he couldn't swim? But I honestly think that what happened was that he was kind of trying to get himself used to putting his face under the water and working on that. And I think that what happened was that at the point where it drops from 4 feet and then rapidly drops down to 6 and then down to 9 for like a diving deep area, I think that he kind of bounced and realized that when he put his feet back down again, he could not touch the bottom anymore. So when I saw him, he was really flailing in the water. The water was like coming up over his face, and he was flailing around and obviously definitely in trouble. And so without even thinking, all I knew was I could not let the man drown. Without even thinking, I went tearing over there, and I was in my mind somehow naively thinking I could just take his hand and pull him back over to where it was shallower. But I did take advanced life-saving when I was in high school, and yes, I had learned at one point that the worst thing to do is somehow let someone get a hold of you when they're drowning. The level of panic, the level of sheer raw panic is incredible when someone is afraid of drowning. And so he grabbed me and just took me down with him. And he didn't mean to, man. I ended up with bruises, you know, like on my chest from just grabbing at me as hard as he could. I don't blame him. He was terrified, and people that are drowning have a tendency to climb right on top of you because they're just trying so hard to get up out of the water. And so as soon as I was underwater there and he'd taken me down with him, the memories of life-saving kicked back in again. And I thought, oh my goodness, you don't do this. And so I deliberately stayed under, and then the person who's drowning will immediately let go, because then they're panicking again, and he will let himself go back up kind of toward the surface. And like I said, he hadn't been getting a lot of water in his mouth real bad, but the water was just like this, you know, over his face, and he had no clue how to keep himself up in the water. So anyway, once I kind of got my bearings again, I got behind him, and I didn't have room to get him over to the side, but I knew I could maybe get him back to the shallower water. So I got behind him, and I just pushed up and from the back, up and over as hard as I possibly could, over and over and over again, until he finally was able to get his feet down solid again, and he could relax and realize he could breathe. Later on, he told me he told his wife that was there, wife or sister or friend or somebody that was there with him who could not swim either. You know, she just kept pushing me and pushing me. So there was many ways that I was extremely grateful of the timing of things that I think God had in place. At that point, I was swimming about 72 lengths at least every time I went swimming. I've since found out that's almost 2/3 of a mile, which just blows my mind. I just finally found out how far it really was. But it made me stronger. That was right before I went in the hospital with this last stroke thing. And by the way, this had nothing to do with that. You know, it wasn't because of that I ended up in the hospital again. But anyway, and also I was finally wearing a suit that fit me that day. It had just come in the mail. My other one was so big and baggy on me. So it would not have been good if he could have really gotten a hold of that suit. Perfectly nice man, but when people are that panicked, they're not making reasonable decisions. And so anyway, I was beyond grateful that he was okay, and super nice people, and they could just go home. So, yeah, it shook me up a little bit when I suddenly found myself being grabbed by a very strong person and shoved deep down into the water. You know, he was a very strong man. So that was disconcerting. But the most important thing was that I just could not let the man drown. And I was afraid that if I tried to go for help, he would not be okay. And I didn't know if I could get my bouncy, floaty self down if he ever started sinking. I just could not let that happen. Okay, so that's a little bit of a recap. I did a little video about it right after it happened, which, like I said, that will be in the link in the description below. But I discovered after that, and though I was quite grateful for how it all worked out, and increasingly I saw what God had done, you know, but I started having nightmares, and they were not real bad, but just nightmares of being somewhere and I couldn't save someone. You know, the whole feeling of, my goodness, what if he had actually drowned, or what if I just couldn't have done it? And moments of being a little scared myself, because I could have ended up people that are trying to rescue people, when they go and they get too close to them, can sometimes drown with them, because they'll just get a hold of you and really hang on. And that, like I said, that's an instinctive gut primal reaction to the kind of fear that they're feeling with being afraid they can't breathe. Nothing is more primal to a person than not being able to breathe. And so it's a very strong reaction. So I have a friend that lives not too far away. He and his wife are friends of ours. I respect him tremendously. He's older than I am, and has been a EMT, like a really good EMT rescue guy, in his career. And he now is an EMT, and he now is an EMT instructor. Even after a severe break in his leg, he had a terrible fall from a ladder, which broke his femur really badly in his leg. He still, I knew, had gone in, even older than I am, into a house that was on fire near where we live, and pulled the man out and saved his life. And so he's very much an expert in that kind of a career, you know. And I was just realizing that I was having a little PTSD, and I never thought about that ever happening. And, post-traumatic shock. Stress. But yeah, thank you, Bill. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. And you always think about that kind of thing with people that are, in war and serious stuff. I never imagined that being able to just get in there and help somebody get out of the water would make me start having nightmares and just... when I would go swimming, I was so extremely conscious of everybody else in the pool. It got to be kind of hard for a little while to have other people even in there, because I was so conscious of, are they okay? And there's no lifeguard and all that stuff. And so, and everybody has been, of course. I don't think that man ever intended to get over in that deep water. So I asked if I could come over and talk to him, and the friend that's an EMT instructor. So I went over, and he and his wife are real sweethearts, and we sat down and talked, and it really was eye-opening, and that's what I really wanted to talk about today. Now, I know that ultimately the most wonderful thing out of that whole situation was that man went home with his friends or wife. I don't know exactly what the relationship was, but it was two gentlemen and a lady. They went home, with him safe and sound. That is praise God, the outcome. But I would not want anyone to think that I handled that in the absolute best way that could have been handled. It was just this gut reaction just to get over there. I figured I could put my hand out, he'd take my hand, and I'd pull him back over into the shallow water. But it doesn't work that way when someone's drowning. And I didn't think about it. I wasn't remembering my training. I remembered it when he pulled me under the water. But anyway, of course, being 18 years old when I'm 62, it was a long time ago. So he really, we talked about things. He said one of the things that really helps when you've been in a situation like that, because he said it's not unusual after a traumatic experience to have a little bit of PTSD for a little bit. But he said that looking back over and going, okay, what have I learned? What could I have done differently? How could I make this situation better later on? If I'd ever run across it again, which I just pray I don't. And so I remembered that you're really not supposed to approach people when they're drowning if you possibly can avoid it, for the very reason that they'll pull you under. So he reminded me of the little easy thing to remember when you're really trying to rescue somebody. And I wanted to share this information. The first thing that you do is reach. And what that means is you find, should be a pole or some kind of a device that you can get to the person that they can grab onto, a life ring that you could push out to them. But this reach one would be like a pole, something that you could put out there. The person gets a hold of it and you can pull them in. That way you can help them, but they're not going to drown you with them. That is a very real danger. So that is the reach. And then there is throw. Throw something out that they could float on, especially if it's like a ring, a life ring with a rope or some kind of attachment to it, so they can have something they can really hang on to keep their face above the water. So it's reach, throw, and then if someone has something like a little boat or some kind of a thing where you can go out to them, the next one is row. So it's reach, throw, row, and then as a final resort, go. And that was really a good reminder to me of the best way to approach that sort of thing. So, he said that anytime he's around any kind of a pool, anytime for him, even anytime he's in a kind of a public building, he notices where the exits are. He notices what might be emergency situations. And then if he's at a pool, he's very aware. Where is any rescue equipment? Are there any pools here? Are there any floaty thingies? Is there a life ring? Is there something here that I could use? And he's always aware of his environment with that. And so at that, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. That is just so wise. And he said, now, that helped me to understand how I would approach it if something like that would ever happen again, to be sure I was doing it maybe in a really better, safer way to do it. I'm thankful this all worked out fine, the way I did it. But, and so he said also, PTSD can be rough to get over if you don't have a good outcome, because of course as a fireman, EMT, there was times when there wasn't good outcomes for him. Soldiers, military people, medical personnel, they can a lot of times not have good outcomes, firemen, But he said when you have a good outcome, usually you can recover pretty quickly from the PTSD. It's usually no more than a few weeks. And then he said if it was longer than that, it would be good to find somebody I could talk to or get some help a little bit. So I just really prayed about it and I really thought things through. And actually, it took a couple of weeks, but I was okay. I ended up being fine with it. Like I said, it kind of caught me off guard that it shook me up that much. So, but what he said was absolutely right. All the advice he gave me, the talking about it, just making me feel like, yep, this is normal. I appreciated it. Thank you, Scott. I don't know if you'll ever see this video, but thank you. So, one of the things I wanted to do, I'm going to show me going back to the pool. And one of the things I wanted to do is just show what I'm aware of now in the pool situation there. And how that I approach it differently now. And I'm just so conscious now of the people that are around me in the water. And I'll be talking about that a little bit more there at the pool. So, and then one of the people that work there had an app on his phone and he could finally figure out for me how far I've been swimming. Yay! So, that has been kind of fun to find that out, so. The last video that I put out, I had done 32 links. I was really impressed that I was able to do it. The next time I went, I did 36, and then this last time I did 40. The one that you'll see today, I was able to do 40. I'll be talking about it a little bit there, but I wanted to just tell you, I did some math. And when I did the 32 links, that's 1,440 feet, because it's 45 feet each time I do a length. And that was 0.27 miles, so almost 0.3 of a mile. But then when I did 40, that's 1,800 feet, and that's a little over a third of a mile. That's 0.34 miles, so it's almost a third of a mile. And it amazes me, when I was doing the 72, which I'm trying to work back up to, that was like 0.61 miles. That's approaching 2/3 of a mile, and it's over half a mile. Oh my goodness. So I had figured out that if I could do 118 lengths, okay, I'll work up to it. Everybody's going to tell me, oh, take it slow. I'll work up to it. But if I could do 118 lengths, I do sets of 4 laps. So each set is 8. Anyway, if I could do 118 of them, which is like approaching 15 sets, that would be over a mile. I don't know, we'll see. But I used to do that when I was in college, very, very much youthfulness, skinnierness and young. But I used to, go after class and swim a mile. I'm a strong swimmer, but I used to do that just because I enjoyed it and it was good exercise. So I'd flip if this old body got me back to a mile. But I'm just thrilled I was doing almost 2/3. I'm working on it. I'm working my way back up. So anyway, I want to show you some things I saw there at the pool and share a little bit about the last time that I went swimming. And I just wanted to be sure that I followed up on that because I'm more than anything just glad everything turned out okay with the man who almost drowned. But I wanted to share some things I really learned from it. If you're at a pool, be aware what is around there. Because even a place that doesn't have a lifeguard, they'll usually have something around, some kind of rescue equipment. So, alrighty, well, let's head over to the pool. Okay. Once again, it's all quiet here. I just told Bill it was nice of them to build a pool for me. I'm the only one here right now. All right, here I am at the pool, and I'm going to start doing laps again. I want to show you some things that I'm very aware of now that I was able to help that gentleman get out when he was drowning. I want to show you some things that I've kind of know where to find now. Let's look over here. Because I hadn't really been thinking in terms of finding myself needing to get somebody out of the water, helping to keep someone from drowning. I hadn't noticed these things. Well, after having talked to my friend that I've been speaking about, I now am very aware of where they are. So here's some of the things that were available here. This is a big net that they use. This is actually, it could be grabbed and put, at least over halfway across the pool. So that somebody has something to hang on to. And there's also, here is a guard board here that you can get in the water and push out. Remember we talked about how that you either reach, throw, row, or go. This would be a good reach. This could be a throw or even a go. I could have reached out to the guy and had him grab it. So here's some things that now I'm very aware of where they are in here. Here are some like play rings in the water there, like, big play toys. I'm sure kids have had fun with those. Even something like that, if I could have grabbed it really quick, or you can find something like that to throw to somebody, would give them something to hang on to get their face up out of the water until you can help them get out. So, yep, I see it very differently now. Another thing I've really noticed since that happened is that when I'm here, if there are other people here, I'm extremely aware now of where everybody's at, and especially if I see a child in the deep water, I'm really aware of that. And a lot of times I'll really nicely go up to whoever was the parent, especially if they're not paying much attention, and just say, wow, looks like they're a good swimmer. That's really cool. They're a good swimmer, right? Anyway, I'm just much more aware of that kind of thing now. So anyway, I just wanted to show you, even just here at my usual pool, there's some things I'm very aware of now. All right. So if you find yourself in a pool situation, and especially if there isn't a lifeguard that's actually there all the time, look around and notice, what could I lean out, put out to somebody? Are there pools around, or are there rings, life rings and things like that? And it's just good just to be aware of it. Everything worked out fine getting him out. I am so incredibly grateful. I'm grateful that I learned years ago to not let somebody push you down, just to get out of the way like I talked about. But just to know where things are that I could have used to get out to him with less danger was just a really, really good idea. So let me try to see if I can get in here. This has been really cold the last few days, and so, but once I'm in and I'm really swimming and moving, I do all right. Getting the head in is really the hard part sometimes. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, it's cold. Oh my goodness. But I'm gonna do it. I don't give up. I don't care how cold it is. I usually run until it drops off and then start swimming across, unless I'm doing some kind of backstroke. And if you notice here, remember I talked about that I have found out now how far this is because someone had an app on their phone? Well, it's from here. The guy measured from the actual edge right there, but I took some off because I don't climb up the steps every time I do a lap, a length of the pool. So it's like from right here to that corner is right at 45 feet. So now I have a pretty good idea of how far I've been swimming. That's pretty cool. Okay, let me see if I can get in this water. Oh my goodness, here we go. I just did my first 2 lengths and I'm gonna keep going. I'll be alternating my kind of Nana grandma breaststroke with some backstroke. If I look outside, it is rainy and cold today, and even though this water is kind of chilly, I'm very grateful to be in a warm room with a roof on it and be able to be inside to do this. All right, here we go again, already. Well, I just did 32 lengths, but I'm getting some aching. And I'm gonna get into the hot tub for a few minutes because I'd like to see if I can get up to 40 today. So, on goes the hot tub. I'm only gonna give it a couple minutes. I just need to warm up. And yes, I'm always shaky when I first get out of the pool, but I'm really careful. And obviously Bill's here. So I'm hoping to do 8 more, but I gotta warm up a little bit. This is wonderful. Oh, it's so nice and hot. 1 more step down. Oh yeah. Oh, that is glorious. Get clear down to my shoulder. Oh honey, it's good and hot today. Wow.
And now you're going to go get into that cold pool again?
Yes, I am. I'm going to do 8 more. I'd like to do 40.
You're out of your mind.
The last video I made, I did 32 when I was talking about the To My Health thingy. And then the next time I did 36. So I'm really hoping that once I get out, I can go do like another big set of 4, and that'll give me 40 for today, and that'll be my goal for today. But in the meantime, I got to admit, this is glorious. The bubbly things aren't working like they usually do. They're usually like roaring. Oh well, it's the heat I'm after. Ah. Okay, that's 40. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna get out now. So after working that hard, I'm gonna have to be very, very careful. I'm thinking about trying one of the patches from VoxLife to see who would help me when I don't have anything on my feet, but anyway, I'm gonna find a focal point to give me proprioception. And I'll be very careful, and obviously Bill's right here. But that's by far the most I've swum since I was in the hospital last. That's all right. Okay, it's all right. I'm being very careful. All right, I've got a focal point right there. Okay, I got it. All right, I'm gonna go in and get a shower and get ready to go. It's gonna feel good to get my soles back on. Okay. Bill just said I look pretty green. I think that's because of the fluorescent lights. I'm not really green. Not usually. Well, I really enjoyed that. It felt very good to get in 40 links this time. And it felt pretty good to put my my Vox Life soles back on because I feel much more steady now. But my main thing with doing this video, besides getting to share a little bit more of the pool with you, is just to be able to do a follow-up on what I've learned after the man almost drowned that day, and the things that I want to really remember. And once again, just thank God with all of my heart that everything turned out as well as it did that day. So thank you for joining me. Isn't it beautiful here? And I want to show you something. Like I said, I just got done swimming 40 links and showering and everything. Okay, I'm standing up. When I first got out, of course, I felt so wobbly and shaky. And I worked hard, but I'm very, very solid now. This thing's really easy to throw on when I'm swimming, even though it's really big on me. But yeah, I'm really solid. So, because I was able to put the soles in my leather shoes here. So, well, listen, thank you for joining me today. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And be blessed, be safe and careful. And I love you guys, and thank you for your comments. And if you could like this, it helps us a lot. If you haven't subscribed, we'd love to have you. And alrighty, I'll talk to you soon. God bless you guys. Love you. Bye-bye.